I really don't want to get vaccinated because I don't want to really introduce harmful chemicals into my body.
I'm glad you said that, Jojo. That's a very valid complaint, honestly. Like, even until researching vaccines further, I wasn't confident that vaccines couldn't harm you anyway, and I couldn't tell you every ingredient that's in a vaccine. So it's perfectly normal to not trust science all the time if you don't have a good reason to. But I can give you a good reason to trust vaccines. Most vaccines are comprised of just a couple things, and the most important one being a dead version of the virus or some component of the virus that your cells can recognize and start producing antibodies to. When your cells come into contact with this dead version of the virus, they can recognize it. They start producing antibodies that change shape in response to the virus, and then it can signal your B cells to start producing more of these antibodies to kill the virus. And then your B cells produce memory cells that store this information on how to attack this virus. And the other components of a vaccine are all pretty straightforward. They typically have something called a stabilizer, which can just be a gelatin or sugar that could be found in any number of like processed foods that we eat. And then they also have an adjuvant sometimes, which is an agent that helps to increase your body's response to the vaccine. Um, and many hours and many papers have been written about vaccines, and the testing process for vaccines is extremely extensive. So trust me when I say that you can trust vaccines and that they are not going to harm you in any way.
I heard that some vaccines were made with animal cells, kind of like chimpanzee cells, and I'm kind of worried that chimpanzee cells are gonna infect my cells, so I'm a little bit hesitant about doing that.
I'm glad you said that, and that's actually a very valid complaint. It can be kind of scary knowing that vaccines are being tested on animals and being produced with animal cells and, not really knowing the outcome of that. But let me reassure you that no animal DNA is going to end up in your DNA when you get a vaccine. Maybe if I explain a little bit about the process of developing these vaccines, it'll help put your mind at ease. So, the vaccine that you're referring to is called a live attenuated vaccine, and it's produced by introducing a version of the virus into an animal that will not affect the animal because it's kind of specialized to human DNA. Once it's introduced to this animal, it's allowed to reproduce, and then it is taken out of the animal and then put back into a new animal. This process happens over and over and over, and there are many generations of the virus until it's become specialized to this animal's cells. Once the virus has become specialized to the animal cells, it is no longer harmful to humans because it is now solely focused on existing inside of this animal. So the virus is extracted from the animal that it is inhabiting, and it is put into a human cell, and the effects are measured. And so no DNA from the animal will end up in your own DNA.